From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, February the 5th, 2019. Two Palestinians attacked a group of Israeli soldiers last night in the West Bank. According to the IDF, the two terrorists arrived at the Jalamah Crossing and threw an explosive device at the soldiers, who then opened fire. One of the terrorists was killed, the second injured. No soldiers were hurt. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party held its primaries today for the party's Knesset list ahead of Israel's general elections coming up on April the 9th. Voters cast their ballots for national and district candidates. There are 28 currently serving Knesset members and ministers who are vying for the first 18 spots on the Likud list. U.S. President Donald Trump is set to name the U.S. State Department's special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism today. 50-year-old Los Angeles prosecutor Elan Carr is a U.S. Army veteran who has served as national president of the Jewish fraternity Alpha Epsilon Pi and on the National Council of AIPAC. Carr's new position, which has been vacant for the last 2 years, will monitor anti-Semitic hate crimes and work with foreign governments on confronting anti-Semitic groups and individuals who carry out such hate crimes outside the U.S. Jewish organizations welcomed the appointment. CEO of the American Jewish Committee, David Harris, said, "We eagerly look forward to working with Carr as his office combats rising anti-Semitism generated from the far right, the far left, and Islamist extremists, and abetted by the ubiquitous nature of social media." B'nai B'rith International CEO Daniel Mariaschin and President Charles Kaufman said Carr was an outstanding choice. They said his legal and law enforcement background and his longtime involvement in the Jewish community will serve him well in calling out anti-Semitism, especially in view of its dramatic proliferation globally. And the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations Chairman Arthur Stark and Executive Vice Chairman and CEO Malcolm Hoenlein said Mr. Carr's long record of involvement in Jewish communal work, supporting the State of Israel, and combating anti-Semitism is remarkable. They said he has the knowledge, commitment, and capabilities to successfully address the rising tide of anti-Semitism in its various forms in Europe and around the world. Carr is already heading this week to a conference on anti-Semitism in Bratislava and then to an EU conference on anti-Semitism in Brussels. A Holocaust survivor and member of the Tree of Life Synagogue was invited to attend the State of the Union address tomorrow in Washington. 81-year-old Judah Samet survived Bergen-Belsen and later fought in the IDF. On October the 27th of last year, Samet was a few minutes late to Sabbath services at the Pittsburgh synagogue and heard the tragic shooting as he sat in his parked car, warned not to go inside. A law enforcement officer who was inside the synagogue that day responding to the shooting will also be attending the State of the Union. 41-year-old Timothy Matson was part of a SWAT team that exchanged fire with the gunman. Matson was shot a number of times and was in critical condition for days. Nefesh B'Nefesh, the organization that helps ease the process of moving to Israel, or Aliyah, for people from North America and the UK, concluded its first entrepreneur boot camp and pitch competition last night in the southern city of Beersheba. Israel Go Beyond South was run in partnership with the Keren Kayemet LeYisrael, the Aliyah and Integration Ministry, the Jewish Agency for Israel, and the Jewish National Fund, USA. It was aimed at giving innovator Olim, or new immigrants to southern Israel, the support they need to be successful. First prize went to Aleph to Z Digital Marketing, which is a training academy for new immigrants and for the ultra-Orthodox community. Well, a bat used by Jewish Hall of Famer Hank Greenberg ended up selling at auction for just over $25,000. We reported to you last week that the bat, which is also signed by 34 of Greenberg's teammates from the 1937 Detroit Tigers, was being sold with bidding starting at $5,000. The late Hebrew Hammer's wooden bat, though, ultimately went for $25,063.20. The Tony-winning musical that brings an Israeli film to life on the Great White Way announced it will be closing this spring. The band's visit won 10 Tonys, including Best Musical last year. It tells of an Egyptian police band that comes to Israel to perform in the city of Petah Tikva, but ends up accidentally in a small, remote town in the desert. The show will go on tour across the U.S. and beyond starting in June. Producer Oren Wolf told Variety, "We're talking about several international productions in London, in Europe, and possibly in Israel and the Middle East." The show will end its run at the Ethel Barrymore Theater after a year and a half this April. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, February the 5th. At 7 o'clock, it's a look at the spiritual search for Judaism. At 8, Rabbi Shmuley Yanklowitz uses rabbinic texts, poetry, and anecdotes to discuss spiritual transformation, changing the world from the inside out, from the Ferguson Library in Stamford. At 9, Mark Golub sits down with author Talia Karner on L'chaim. At 10, professors Gary Saul Morrison, Gabriella Safran, and Kenneth Moss talk about aspects of Jewish culture surrounding the 1917 Russian Revolution. And coming up right after this newscast tonight, it's the ILTV program Insight to Israel. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, February the 5th, 2019. I'm Teisha Bader.